Manzanar Pilgrimage, give yourselves a hand! My name is Darrell Kunitomi. You may have heard that name before, Darrell. Thank you. I just flew in from Hart Mountain, and boy, are my arms tired. Thank you. Somebody send me to Tule Lake. I'd like to start by thanking our veterans for leading the Pledge of Allegiance today. You may have heard that our Nisei veterans were disparaged last year, and I want to say this year, we thank you for your service to this country. We love you. We honor you. Now let's have some quick fun. Who's the youngest person in the crowd here? It's intended for you guys. You have to carry on the legacy, because I'm not getting any younger. We're going to begin our program and continue through as efficiently as we possibly can. You'll be hearing from an assortment of fine speakers today, and I'm sure you'll be entertained, moved, and if you have little exposure to what happened to Japanese Americans during World War II, except for what you've seen on the History Channel, you will learn. We'll have some music today, and at the end we'll have our traditional interfaith service right over in the cemetery there. And to conclude the day, we dance. Now, Sue would want you all to get up and get down to the Tankobushi beat. That's a beautiful day here in the valley. And please remember, we have bottled water for you for free because the Manzanar Committee intercepted it before it went south to Los Angeles. If you need medical assistance, please raise your hand or shout out. We'll get to you post-haste. As they said at Woodstock back in my day, take care of your neighbors. Now, why are we here? This Department in Water and Power truck, this simple speaking platform, is not far removed from the first pilgrimage, really. People drove here, and they parked, and they poked around the sagebrush, and they searched for something. It was back in 1969. Gas cost about 30 cents. It was leaded. We used blue chip and S&H green stamps. The Beatles were still together. Olympic Boulevard was Japanese instead of Korean, and Spanish in Los Angeles, believe it or not, was a second language. And here in the Owens Valley, on this site, on this altered land, forever changed by war, and imbued with the sweat and the tears of so many innocent lives, this strange plot of land was slowly returning to the desert. And what had happened here during World War II was largely forgotten, or it was buried away. A few in the Japanese community dared to return, and many of those were young, third-generation Sansei. They had questions unanswered. Many in the community refused to remember. The relocation was, after all, a terrible time, a time of shame. But a Nisei woman, Sue Kunitomi Embry, decided to stand, and she said, "It is time to remember." It's time to remember those who sweated to change the sere landscape to green and shady and bountiful, to remember the hands of the people who made the desert bloom, as they had to the poorer lands to the south, where they farmed the lands no one else wanted. Time to remember the terrible wind and the biting dust, the stench of the latrines slippery with waste, the total lack of privacy for the most private of Asian peoples, the crack of gunshots from American soldiers firing on fellow Americans, the name of the camp newspaper, the Manzanar Free Press. Time to remember to honor those who went to war, never to return. And time to remember those who stood on their rights to say no. Time to remember the tears, too. My mother, Masa Kunitomi, a newlywed, that first night in 1942, in the strange, mind-bending confines of drafty wooden barrack, so far from the family home, lying on her cot, crying through the night. There was blood at Manzanar, yes, and today we will hear of it firsthand from one of our speakers, Paul Takagi. He was here over 6 decades ago, a prisoner in his own land, but today we honor him along with other surviving internees sitting amongst you. They are living history. They return in triumph, and they are our heroes. And if I may be so bold to say, they return in peace, in triumph, and in reconciliation. If you were here at Manzanar, or if you were interned at another camp, please raise your hand so we may recognize you. Thank you for coming. Thank you. We have come so far. The journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. A big glacier begins with a single snowflake. Mass movements often begin on the shoulders of one. And as Captain Kirk said to the bad Spock, in every revolution there is one man who steps forward. It is our turn today to remember. And so today, for the 38th Annual Manzanar Pilgrimage in this year 2007, we honor the memory and the legacy of one brave woman who stood up and stepped forward to raise her voice, Sue Kunitomi Embry. Tom Leatherman, please come up. Tom Leatherman is the superintendent here at the Manzanar Historic Site, National Park Service. Please, Tom.
Thanks, Darrell. On behalf of the National Park Service and Manzanar National Historic Site, welcome to the 38th Annual Pilgrimage. I want to begin by thanking Darrell and the Manzanar Committee for putting this all together. This wouldn't be possible without all their efforts, so let's give them a big hand. I also want to echo what Darrell said about the water. It's quite warm today, and there's coolers along the outside of the aisles, so please take some water and drink it. It's good to have it, but if you don't drink it, it doesn't do you any good. So, well, I've been here at Manzanar for a little over 1.5 years now, and I've been fortunate to have the opportunity to meet and work with a number of people, amazing people, including Sue. Her legacy is all around us, and I'm honored to be able to spread the message about Manzanar and work with all of you doing that. The programs and projects that have been developed are further testament to Sue's legacy, and I want to tell you about a few of the things that we're working on right now. We continue to press on with new and compelling ways to spread the message. We collect oral histories and are in line to receive additional funding for this program for the next 3 years. We had an electronic field trip in February that went out to a potential audience of 20 million students, and those students will be able to share their experiences with many more. We just finished lowering the Block 14 mess hall onto its new foundations, and we begin the restoration of that mess hall this year. The historic orchards here at Manzanar are getting a new irrigation system, and we'll begin saving those trees and developing those orchards so that people can remember that part of the story. And we are continuing the preservation and excavation of the gardens. The Block 34 garden, the hospital garden, and the Block 12 and 22 gardens have already been excavated on the site. We're going to be beginning in 2 weeks. We'll be doing the excavation of Blocks 9 and 10 and stabilizing and bringing those gardens so that people can see the work that was done during the camp period. Today we are officially launching our Junior Ranger program, providing children between the ages of 4 and 15 and others that are interested, that are older, to learn a little bit about Manzanar in a hands-on way and be able to share that experiences with kids that can then go out and share it with many more. These are just a sample of the amazing programs and projects that we're working on right now. Upcoming programs and projects will be advertised, and all the things are available on our website, and they'll be advertised in the local newspapers and press releases. Of course, doing all this work takes a team of people, and I would be remiss if I didn't recognize the efforts of the Manzanar staff and the large number of volunteers that we have out here today helping us. So I'd like to give the staff a big hand and the volunteers for all their efforts. I don't think that I have worked with a more dedicated group of people anywhere. And again, I am honored to have the opportunity to help carry Sue's vision into the future and keep Manzanar in all of our minds. I'd like to close by thanking all of you for being here today and for remembering Manzanar. Only through these interactions can we keep the message alive and let people know the importance of the issues that Manzanar represents. Thank you.